Canto 4. Krishna opens the gates of knowledge, and his lordship, Shri Krishna, spoke. This way of yoga I first taught the sun, who then revealed to Manu, who was the first mortal one. And this knowledge to the first king, Ikshvasu, Manu transferred. Thus, in this way, knowledge passed on from the first word. This tradition was upheld then by the regal sages, and from sage to sage it was conveyed in succession. O Arjuna, this knowledge that was passed on by the sages, with the passage of time, got lost in transmission. The same knowledge that I had first taught, I shared with you to enlighten your thought. The king of secrets to you too I shall lend, for you are my devotee, my dear friend. Arjuna questioned. The sun god was the first amongst the living. Even before your birth was the sun's beginning. How is it that I can comprehend what you say? That you instructed the sun on the first day? Shri Krishna answered, Many births before, O Arjuna, I have seen, and many times born, you too have been. The only difference is that of all of them I know, but you are unaware of them, and hence don't know. Though I am imperishable and birthless, the Lord of all beings, eternal and timeless, I descend into my Maya's existence, and in nature I bring forth my presence. At all times when righteousness is at its wane, O child of light, whenever there is a reign of darkness and pain, when injustice and entropy blares on the human side, my avatar descends into the mortal realm to turn the tide, for the deliverance of the good who are oppressed, to obliterate all the world's evil that has coalesced, to once more coronate the kingdom of right. Epoch after epoch, I manifest my light. He who understands my birth divine and knows the way of my divine works, after death his consciousness merges into mine, and he relapses not into the cycle of endless births. Thus exempted from attachment, fear and anger, with their minds seeking refuge in my shelter, such men of knowledge who have performed penance in divinizing life, they have been able to advance. Whichever form of mine my devotees expect, their ardent prayers towards me I accept. Seekers of my path walk in so many ways. O Arjuna, in search of me all men tread always. The mortals, to fulfill their works of desire, sacrifice to the various demigods whom they admire. Because these actions bear fruition quickly, in the human realm the results manifest easily. I created the fourfold system of order on the basis of qualities, activities and ardor. It is I who gave the fourfold law sanction. Imperishable I am, yet I detachedly perform my action. I cannot be chained or bound by actions, nor by any fruitive aspirations. He who knows this and understands, in the entanglement of works he never lands. The ancient wise ones who were liberated, imbibing this knowledge they operated. Therefore, you too, all your works perform, adopting the ancients' practice as your norm. What is action and what is inaction? Even the wisest seers are thus perplexed. I shall hand you that riddle's explanation, that knowledge by which all bondages are shed. Understand one must what is right action and what is the action that is considered wrong. Also one must know what is considered to be inaction and the deep nature to which the way of works belong. He who while performing action sees inaction, and even in inactivity, he who perceives a latent action. Know him to be the man of the illumined mind, and his actions transcendentally benefit all of mankind. He who seeks not any gratification, he whose every activity is without desire, he whose very works are consumed by knowledge's fire, he is declared to be the wisest sage in action. When he has given up attachment, desireless and unperturbed, he is the blissful one. In the midst of activity, he is in a state of detachment. He is not the doer of works, but his work is done. He desires not for his heart or mind. All desires renounced, his senses in his grip you find. In this poise, all bodily actions he does verily perform, but his actions can cause no sin to take form. With whatever good that naturally comes his way, he is contented, thus never envious on any day. Both success and failure he greets with poise. Works don't bind him, for he has transcended choice. Devoid of attachment, he is truly free and liberated. In a state of sacrifice, his every action is consecrated. In the self, his heart and mind are immersed and involved, and all reactions arising from works are dissolved. It is to Brahma, the supreme truth, that all offerings are made, so that into the state of Brahma one can wade. The Brahmin, truth seeker, into Brahma's fire pours oblations, and his works reach the ultimate state of Brahman actions. Some seekers of a divine union make sacrifices only to the gods whom they prefer, but there are others who in the sacrifice partake into Brahma's fire. They offer solely for the sacrifice's sake. Others consecrate their hearing and other senses as a whole into the sacrificial fire of complete self-control. Some place the music of sound or the best objects they desire, thus offering their senses into the sacred sacrificial fire. All sense-bound actions are offered by some, along with their bodily actions, breath and life force. With self-control, all these offerings only oblations become. Into knowledge's fire, light's kindling source. Some make material offerings for their benefaction, while other yogis practice a rigorous austerity in action. Others into the fire of knowledge as oblations show their intellectual prowess, reading and all that they know, while others practice the sacrifice by breathing the life force that they are inhaling and exhaling. Thus, they exercise restraint on their very life force, and a regulation over their breaths they enforce. There are yet others who regulate their food. Their life forces they pour into the sacrifice of life force. Sacrifice's meaning all these beings have truly understood, and in its fire they obliterate their sins in life's course. Post-sacrifice, Those who enjoy the ambrosial nectar left over in the eternal Brahma's consciousness, they hover. When even this world isn't for those who sacrifice not, and if not here, O Arjuna, elsewhere, can anything be got? Into the fiery mouth of Brahma, these sacrifices enter through many different ways, whichever one may offer. Know these as the ways of sacrificial works that must be, for this is the knowledge that shall free and set free. Over any material sacrifice that is performed physically, superior is the sacrifice of knowledge that is done intellectually. O Arjuna, all actions always ultimately reach, culminating in knowledge, the supreme truth they teach. By humbly bowing to a true master, and by worshipping, and by questioning, and by dutifully serving, these preceptors who possess the divinity and foresight shall bless and part you their knowledge's light. With this knowledge, O Arjuna, you shall know the true way, and your mind's ignorance shall never lead you astray. See, you shall first in all living entities the Self's presence, and then witness you shall in myself every being's existence. Even a sinner who has the greatest sin performed, by this knowledge the sinner can be reformed. Surpassing the sea of wickedness, he shall pass through. Boarding the ship of knowledge, he'll cross a horizon new. O Arjuna, just like when an inferno blazes, everything its fire consumes, burns and raises. The fire of ethereal knowledge, everything burns, every actions and works into ashes it turns. More immaculate than this, there is nothing than the radiance of knowledge's unadulterated light. He who has integrated the yogic principles in everything attains in himself the true self's insight. He whose faith is strongly ordained and a control over senses, he who has attained, is by the supreme knowledge enlightened, and his ascent to absolute peace is ascertained. The one who is faithless and ignorant, for whom neither this world nor the other is existent, by infinite doubts his mind is plagued, and by his own skepticism he is destroyed. O Arjuna, he who has above doubts risen and sacrificed all, desiring nothing for himself, is no more bound in karma's prison, for he has attained a true knowledge of the self. Therefore, this ignorance that your heart has borne, let its wheel be shred and torn. With the sabre of knowledge, besiege its disguise. O son of Bharat, attain the union, awaken and arise. Thus ended the fourth canto of the Bhagavad Gita, where Shri Krishna described to Arjuna the ways of attaining a conscious liberation from the laws of karma through the yoga of knowledge, yoga of knowledge, yoga of